Every parent's worst nightmare is any harm coming to their child. Gary Plauché, an American father from Louisiana, endured just that when his 11-year-old son was kidnapped and molested by a trusted family friend. Then, in a stunning turn of events, Gary Plauché became the hunter and gunned down the evil man who did this to his son. And he did it in front of a national TV audience, which left the country to debate, was this revenge killing justified? If you haven't heard this story before, then be prepared to answer that question yourself. Even more, prepare to ask yourself what you would do in the same situation. Gary Plauché was born in 1945 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He served in the U.S. Air Force and then became an equipment salesman and also worked as a cameraman. In 1972, Gary's son was born and they named him Jody. For the most part, Gary and his son Jody lived quiet, normal lives. Young Jody took interest in sports, including football, basketball, and martial arts. Eventually, he ended up quitting football and basketball to focus more on his martial arts. Little did his parents know that during this time, Jody was being groomed by his martial arts instructor and would eventually become his victim. The instructor was 25-year-old Jeff Doucet, who was a former Marine. It seemed like everyone loved Doucet and he was highly regarded in the community. In fact, just a year before the abduction, Jody Plauche was quoted in his school newspaper, saying about Doucet, quote, "He's all of our best friend." During the grooming period, Doucet also offered to teach Jody how to drive a car. Jody stated that during the lessons, Doucet would touch him in places that he knew wasn't appropriate. This would also happen during his martial arts lessons. However, being only 11 years old, he didn't want to get into trouble, so he wasn't sure what to do. It's also important to note that during this time Gary Plauché and his wife were separated, and it's likely that Jeff Doucet used this information to his advantage when looking for a victim. Then, in February of 1984, a series of events would unfold that would have massive ripple effects on everyone involved. On the fateful day, Jeff Doucet picked up Jody to go for a ride in his truck, and he told Jody's mother that they'd be back in 15 minutes. Due to their trusted relationship, Jody's mother didn't doubt that they'd be back soon. But unfortunately, this time, when Doucet picked up Jody, he was filled with evil intentions. By nighttime, Doucet had kidnapped Jody and they were on a bus headed to California. On the way, Doucet shaved his beard and dyed Jody's hair from blonde to black. Doucet then checked into a cheap motel in Southern California, just a few blocks away from Disneyland. There, Doucet did horrible things, as he molested and assaulted the 11-year-old boy. Later on, it was revealed that he had even penetrated Jody with a broomstick. The assault continued until Jody asked to call his parents, and for some reason, Doucet allowed him to do so. Jody's parents immediately alerted the police, who were able to trace the phone call to the cheap motel in California. They quickly closed in on the motel and arrested Jeff Doucet. Jody was reunited with his family in Louisiana. Though his son had been found, Gary Plauché remained on edge. He spent the next few days inside a local bar, asking people when they thought Doucet might be brought back to Baton Rouge for trial. A former colleague of Gary's, who worked for a news station, also happened to be out for a drink. He was able to provide Gary Plauché some information regarding when the flight would land that would be transporting the disgraced martial arts instructor. So, Plauché drove to Baton Rouge Airport. In order to avoid detection, he entered the airport wearing a baseball cap and a pair of sunglasses. His face hidden, he walked over to a payphone. As he made a quick call, a news crew got their cameras ready to record the caravan of cops that would escort Jeff Doucet off of his flight. As they walked by, Plauché pulled a gun from his boot and quickly shot Doucet in the head. As Doucet collapsed, the local police disarmed Gary while shouting, quote, "Why Gary, why'd you do it?" Plauché's answer was simple, as he replied in tears, quote, "If somebody did it to your kid, you'd do it too." And this is a sentiment that many parents can probably relate with. Which is why the revenge killing became a national story and led to the debate if what Gary Plauché did was actually wrong. Yes, he had committed murder. But given the circumstances, was it justified? Eventually, Gary Plauché did go to trial for murder. Almost immediately, the local community wanted him acquitted. They even raised money to help pay for his bail and legal defense. His lawyer argued that Jody's kidnapping had pushed Gary into a psychotic state, in which he was no longer capable of distinguishing right from wrong. The public opinion overwhelmingly swayed in Plauché's favor. So much so that when sentencing time came around, the judge decided against sending Plauché to jail. He felt certain that Plauché didn't intend to harm anyone except the already dead Jeff Doucet. So, Plauché walked away from his murder trial with 5 years probation and 300 hours of community service. Plauché went back to living a relatively normal life under the radar, and in 2014 he died from a stroke when he was in his late 60s. His obituary describes him as a man who, quote, saw beauty in everything. He was a loyal friend to all, always made others laugh, and a hero to many. His son, Jody Plauche, went on to live a pretty normal life, especially given the circumstances. Eventually, he ended up turning his experience into a book titled Why Gary Why. In it, he gives parents tips on what to look out for, in order to avoid having their children become victims as well. He hopes to save other people from having to experience what he and his family went through. Jody also has a YouTube channel where he sometimes posts cooking videos, and commenters will often bring up his past. In an interview, Jody once said, quote, "I'll post a cooking video on YouTube, and someone will comment, 'Your dad's a hero.'" So, what do you think? Is Gary Plauché, in fact, a hero? Was the murder justified? Or, should he have gone to jail for the killing? We would love to hear what you think. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, we would appreciate a quick click on that subscribe button. That way, you can stay up to date when we release our next video about one of the most interesting things in the world. In the meantime, stay safe out there, and keep exploring.